Welcome to Love Your Life After Divorce, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know to rebuild your life after divorce from the inside out. Let's dive in. Hey there, friend. I'm so glad you are joining me today because I have a very special guest who I have done an interview with that I'm sharing with you today. And my guest today is Natalie, who is an amazing client of mine who I've had the privilege of working with now for several months. And before we dive into the interview, I just want to tell you a little bit about Natalie because she is also an amazing coach. Natalie is a leadership coach who empowers leaders to explore the art of leadership. She helps leaders shape their unique leadership identity while tackling real world challenges, equipping them with the skills needed to effectively guide their teams, drive their businesses, and grow as leaders. Through Natalie's coaching, leaders gain clarity, perspective, and confidence to lead with purpose and authenticity. And so, if you are a leader or know someone who would benefit from Natalie's coaching, I highly recommend you reach out to her because she's an amazing human, she's an amazing person, and she's an amazing coach. And I'm going to put her Instagram handle in the show notes of this episode. So feel free to reach out to her if leadership coaching is something you need. I know you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. So let's just go ahead and dive into the interview. All right. Well, hello, friends. I'm so glad you guys are joining us today. And it is us because I have a special guest with me today on the podcast, which I'm so excited about. I have my amazing client, Natalie, here with me. And I asked her to come on the podcast because when I was coaching her, it's been a couple months ago now, but when I was coaching her after her divorce, she brought up the fact that she had this party to help her symbolize the ending of her marriage and celebrate her new beginning. And I just thought it was such a brilliant idea. And so I asked her a while later if she would be willing to come on the podcast and just talk about this party that she did. And we're going to get into all that in a minute, but first I want you, Natalie, to go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners and just share whatever you want to share with us.
Well, thank you. I'm really delighted to be here. My name is Natalie, and I have two sons. One's in college, and one is a senior in high school. So we are embarking on a new transition as well. I was married for 27 years, and in February, it was my first. I had been divorced a year, so. And about a year and a half from when he moved out. So I'm a leadership coach. I live in Colorado. And so I'm a big fan of coaching and have really benefited from you and from all that you have provided me. And I feel like it has helped me step into that, like learning to love the life that I have. And I'm forever grateful.
Well, it has been a true pleasure to coach you. And I just can't wait for you to share just with our listeners about this ritual or ceremony that you did for yourself. And I guess before we dive into your specific story and sharing about your party that you had, I'd love for us to just talk in general about why rituals or ceremonies can be an important part of healing after divorce. And if you think about it, I mean, marriage itself is such a big ceremony in our culture. Weddings cost so much money. We put so much time and effort and planning into this public display of joining our life with someone else. And then when we get a divorce, it's just like, okay, you're divorced, and it can be, I mean, and obviously a lot of times it's a more sad occasion. There's grief involved, there's a lot of change, and there can be turmoil and drama. So on one hand, I get it that there's not necessarily a widely accepted, divorce ceremony. But at the same time, it is such a huge shift. It's such a pivotal time for so many people. And I think having that external or outward display or show, especially if you can do it, with other people, with friends or family, people you're close to, just having like a meaningful ceremony or ritual, I think can provide so much healing. And, it's interesting because when you think about the marriage ceremony, there's all these little rituals that are a part of that. exchanging the rings, having the first dance, stepping on the glass, breaking the glass, jumping the broom. There's like all these, like, I remember, I don't know if this was your experience or not, but I don't know if this is like a dated thing or not, or if they still do this, but we did the unity candle.
Oh,
Did you do
yes.
the unity candle? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Because each of us individually had a candle, and then we lit the bigger candle in the middle, right? Like symbolizing, oh, our two flames are now joining into one flame. And then we blew out our individual candles. And so I think it's a cool idea to think about doing like a reverse unity candle for divorce. Like the big candle is lit, and then you light your own individual candle, and then you blow out the big candle. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like I just want to offer some examples, but honestly, I feel like having a ceremony to symbolize the ending of your marriage and the beginning of your new life, it can be very individualized. I think it can be anything that makes you feel like you are symbolically or experientially letting go of your past, letting go of your marriage, letting go of your partner. So really it can just be anything that is meaningful for you. But some basic ideas and some things I've seen online, and maybe you have too, but one of the main ones I've seen are women who destroy their wedding dresses. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
No. Yeah, a lot of women either burn their dresses or like totally demolish them, and they even hire professional photographers to capture the moments, where they do that. So that's a big one that I've seen. And then also having a divorce party. I've heard, once the divorce is finally official, a lot of women choose to celebrate with an actual party with their friends because, as we all know, that process of actually getting divorced legally can take months sometimes, or even longer, even years, depending on the process, and how amicable it is. But so a lot of people choose to just have a party. It's another idea. And then some other ideas that I read that I thought were really cool. Writing a word on a rock that symbolizes, or even just that says something you want to let go of, and then throwing that rock into either a lake, the ocean, or even just a forest. I thought that was a cool symbolic idea. Another one that's more positive that kind of goes with the like rebuilding is writing messages of hope or encouragement. Like a lot of times, if friends or family can do this, but you can also do it for yourself. But write on a piece of paper like what you're looking forward to or something that helps you move forward, and just put all those pieces of paper in a jar, in a glass jar. So, anyway, those are just some ideas, but I just wanted to give you all kind of an idea of why having a ceremony or a ritual is helpful, because I just love that idea of having like a tangible physical representation of what is going on internally, because there's so much internal and emotional and mental shifting, letting go of. And so I think when you can express it outwardly, it can just bring it more into like reality, or in a way, in a good way, like just in symbol. I mean, I'm sure you can say more about it since you actually did it. I did not do this, but I loved it when you shared it. So with that being said, I would love to now hear more about your party. And I guess first of all, my first question is, how did you even come up with the idea? Did you see it somewhere? Did it just come to you? What made you decide to do this? Oh, and did we say the name of your party? I don't think I said that. So
Oh,
it
no.
is, well, you can say it. Go ahead.
So the party was the finish the firsts party because I had been through all the firsts since he moved out. So that felt really significant to me. And I
Mhm.
also could start to feel some of that shift in me from that really heavy survival, deep grief to be like, oh, something is changing. And what's interesting, my friend and I, we had been talking about it, but in my own personal life, like at different really challenging times in my life, I did something to signal it. Like
Mm.
I did put things on the rock. Maybe it was things I was letting go of, and I with my friend, and we threw them in the lake, and had almost like a little ceremony, or when the breakup of the boyfriend, and I took all his pictures and I put them in a pot, and then I put the pot in the tub, and then I burned all the pictures. Like I was very safe, but there was safety involved. But that was really significant to me, and I've heard of this, and I've thought about this a lot. Like when we do significant things, or we mark the moments, that when hard things come again, you don't have to go all the way back. Like you can kind of remember, oh, yes, this thing. So I was thinking about it the other day. Like I have a couple like hard, challenging times in my life. And one, I remember just beating myself up. Like I should have been better. I should have blah, blah, blah. And then the next one, it was a lot of, oh, I'm being judged. I'm feeling guilt or shame or whatever it was. And in this experience, while those may have been there, they were not the defining pieces of how I survived or continued to grow. So that idea of marking the moments was always a part of um, my own personal journey, for sure.
Okay, that is very cool. Yeah, I didn't realize that you had previously done ritualistic or symbolic gestures when you had those big moments in your life. So yeah, that makes sense that you would also think, oh, this is also another opportunity to really
Yeah,
mark this moment or to do something outward to,
yeah.
you know, signify or like symbolize the what's happening right now in your life.
And my friend and I, like when we first separated, um, we started to talk about it, and I knew it wasn't time. Like there was so much that needed that I didn't just want to have a party. Like I wanted it to mean something. And at that stage, I really just needed my friends around me, like kind of nestling into that support, uh, and being just where I was at each moment. And then I could start to see a little bit of light, like at the end of the storm, or like coming through the tunnel, and recognizing I'm ready to do something. I'm ready to mark that moment with people I really love. And I have two books that kind of inspired. There's this one, it's called The Art of Gathering. It's by Priya Parker. Can you see it okay?
Mhm.
Um, and this one, it talks about like when we gather people together, we can create really special moments, and be thoughtful. It's not just about let's come together and Natalie made it through a year, kind of event, but that how could we be really thoughtful in creating an experience that was life-giving to me and to the people I invited. And the other book is called The Power of Moments. And this one, I just love this book. And it's talking about why certain experiences can have extraordinary impact. And there's this story in here. It's about a woman who lost her husband. Her husband died. And she had a ceremony at a certain point to like say, I'm, you know, this is no longer my life. It was really beautiful. And I think it stuck with me of I want to be able to mark the moment of I am grateful for all that I did over the past year and who I was, but I'm ready to start to look forward. And um, and I think that all kind of mixed together with starting coaching with you. Like, well, what does how do I could love my life? How might I love my life? Like what is that vision for where I'm headed? And so I could tell I was ready. Um, and that's kind of what inspired it for me.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you knew you weren't quite ready to have that symbolic experience. And I think it's because you needed that time to grieve and to adjust a little bit and to kind of let go. And then it sounds like when you knew it was time for the party, like you said, you were sort of out of that initial phase of surviving and really grieving and feeling the loss probably, and then you were ready to move forward. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Recognizing the grief was not done. I just
Hmm.
could feel the shift occurring in me, and I wanted to honor that I was
Mm.
starting to look forward and to start to explore who I am and kind of anchor back into myself. And I wanted to mark that. And I also wanted it, it was kind of twofold. It was that, and it was I had so many wonderful people who supported me and loved me and were such a significant part of my own grief and healing. And I wanted to honor that with them. And I wanted to say thank you to them as well as to be able to signal to myself that something was changing.
Yeah, yeah. And that really highlights, I'm glad you brought that up again, because I was thinking about that when you shared earlier. Because you can do a ritual or a ceremony by yourself if you want to. Like, not everyone has the support system around them, or not everyone wants to make it somewhat public. So I think you can do either one. I just wanted to kind of say that for the people that are thinking, well, I don't have that, or I don't have all these people I'd want to invite, or I don't want to do that in front of people. You can definitely do this by yourself, because what's most important is you're doing it primarily for your own healing and as a symbol to yourself. But I do love, because I do think we are made for community. We are relational humans. And so I think having the people with you makes it, like you said, even more powerful. And it sounds like these books, which I'll put the link, or I'll put the books, at least the title and the author, in the show notes so people can look at those. But it sounds like that was a big part of it that was important for you, not only to have their support and love during the party or at the time, but also, like you said, to celebrate them and to thank them for walking along this journey with you. So that's really special.
I think it too was like, you're right, that felt a little uncomfortable to have
Mm.
a party that spotlighted me in that way. And yet it felt like part of that, like opening myself up more and being authentic and continuing to be vulnerable in this stage as well as the like really difficult parts. So yeah, it did feel like a risk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what allowed you to go through with it, even though it felt like a risk?
Uh, I think for one, it was me. Like I knew that that was important in signaling something to myself, that we are taking a step and we are doing that with people. We're not hiding or being, overly private so that, I wouldn't have any vulnerability hangover or whatever that might be. And they were so wonderful. They were so wonderful to me, and they really saved my life. Like they were so gracious and willing to listen to me and to be there by my side and to love me, that I wanted I wanted all those people to be surrounded and to see that what they did made a difference and that they didn't have to be the only one. That there was a circle of women really surrounding.
Yeah. And was it easy for you to know who to invite, or did you have any questions about, well, should I include this person, or was it just obvious?
No, I did not. I just um, went through and went, who were people that supported me, whether that was the cards that they sent or the weekly phone call or, the answered every time I called and let me just cry, or the neighbor who, said kind and gracious things to me. No, it was not hard to decide.
Okay. And so tell us about the party itself. What activities did you do? And did you do anything, I guess, beforehand, or was it just at the party itself that you did
So
certain
I
rituals?
Yeah, I did a few things for the party. One, I just sent out a text, and I didn't give a lot of turnaround time, but most people were able to come. So it was like, let's just do it. This date works for me and my sisters and some of my really close friends. Most people I knew it would work for.
Mhm.
And so I sent out, I'm having a finish the first party. So grateful, some love and gratitude towards them. And then I asked them a question because I wanted it to be not heavy. Like this wasn't going to be a heavy experience. I wanted it to be light. And so I asked them to think about some of their firsts. So, like, whatever that, it could be, heartfelt, it could be serious, it could be funny, so that they were already starting to think about their own lives. So that was the question that I posed. Um, I and then as we started to plan it, there were different parts to the party, kind of to that, trying to be really intentional about the art of gathering together and gathering them with an intentional purpose so they knew exactly what to do. And that it was focused on the celebration of them as well as where I was at. So we all sat and ate and we talked about our firsts and we did toasts. So people said and talked about their first kisses and their first car accidents and their first, you know, um, boyfriends or whatever. It's kind of all sorts of fun memories. And then I gave them each a bracelet. It was a red bracelet. And it was, there's this idea that I've heard about of the red thread, like the red thread of connection, and how each of these women were part of my red thread of love and support. Um, we spent some time and they each wrote me a blessing. And then I shared a blessing with them, and we went around and each shared. And I have all of those in a basket, kind of to that point. And then the so silly thing that we did, we this idea of that I was blossoming and blooming. My sisters and my friend Lisa brought all these flowers, and then they made this humongous flower crown, and we took pictures and laughed, and everybody helped to build the crown. And so it was a really uh, balance of really heartfelt and connecting and silly. So those were kind of some of the big things we did for the party.
Oh, I love that. I would love to see a picture of that crown.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's a really cool idea. And I love that symbolism of the flowers and the blooming, and that does feel so good. Like after you go through that period of grieving the loss of your life, the life you wanted, your partner, all of that. It's so nice to be able to move into that space of now I'm blooming. Now I'm becoming a version of myself that I love. And that's my favorite. It's my favorite thing to help women through and to just focus on that and just building like that life you live after divorce, of course. So that's awesome.
Yes.
Now, I'm wondering because you were very intentional about your ideas for the party and these. I love the bracelets. I just love all of it. Like it's so. I love stuff like that. It's just so like it's so meaningful. It's so deep, but it's also like you said, also light. Some of it light and fun. But so going into it, you already had an idea of here are the activities we're going to do. And so I'm wondering, did anything like not meet your expectations, or did anything kind of surprise you? Like, oh, I didn't expect to have that reaction to that, or I didn't expect to feel that way, or just anything like that that surprised you about the party?
I was worried that I would feel things like shame or insecurity or embarrassment that I was putting myself out there, or that what I notice is sometimes just in life, I can go do the thing and then afterwards that vulnerability hangover just like sits there. And I didn't feel that. I was surprised, and okay, I really stayed in the thoughts of like, these are people who love me and I love them. And if something big was happening to them, I would just be great. So um, willing or so grateful to be a part of their experience. And so I tried to stay really present to that. And I was pleased that I didn't walk or, have the after effects that I anticipated.
Mhm. Yeah. And as far as those after effects, how did you feel the day after or days after or weeks after? Did you notice any, I guess, obvious shift? Like, did it really kind of change something within you to do those outward expressions of like acknowledging the past and moving forward? I don't know. Did it really feel different, I guess, after the party?
So the party, I probably had it in October of 24. I think that's when it was, September, October. And I'm not sure that I probably was hoping like, ta-da! And it was not like that. Um, there continued to be, you know, sad or ups and downs or all the regular things. So no, I didn't, it wasn't like the sun burst through the clouds and I was just so happy. Um, but yeah, so no, I did not notice something like markedly different. And yet
Hmm.
it was about the like things are changing. Um, and maybe there was some mindset shifts too, because I had uh, my whole goal was to survive that first year, and then it's like, how do I stop just surviving? And so between your coaching and that party, they were like those actions were bringing clarity to I'm no longer surviving. I survived that first year, and now I'm moving forward and exploring the possibilities. So it was in my
Yeah.
mind. I'm not sure that I felt a lot different.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that makes sense. And I think the fact that, like what you were saying earlier, when you realized it was time to have the party is because you were already making those shifts. And it felt like a natural, probably complement to what you were already doing. So it's not like the party itself, oh, boom, all of a sudden changed you or shifted you in some major way. It was just like, oh, this makes sense. This is part of this process that I'm already going through. So
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense. And so
definitely.
so I guess you didn't regret. I mean, did you have any regrets or anything you would have done differently about the party? No.
No, nope, definitely. And I did
Yeah.
do something before the party too. Uh, so I could feel that I physically needed to do something. Like you talked about the ripping up of the wedding
Dress.
dress or whatever. And I had been kind of like when I threw the rock in the lake, at whatever season of life, that felt really significant because I did some, I threw it like
Something
so.
physical.
Yeah, something physical. So I had been just trying to. I didn't know what that was, and I was organizing something in my basement, and I found this like pottery piece that we had gotten when we got married. Somebody had made it, and it had the year we got married on it. And I remember seeing it, going, "What am I going to do with this?" Like it didn't say our names or anything; it just had our anniversary year on it. And when I was thinking about the party, I went, "This is the thing." And so the night before, my sisters came over to help get ready for the party and whatnot. And so when they came over, we went out into my backyard. Fortunately, they came with me because I would have just smashed it to bits and it would have been everywhere. If I had been alone, that's what I would have done. Because I was like, I'm going to smash this thing. And one of the sisters had the wherewithal to like wrap it in garbage bags. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart. And then we stood together and like just had a little time to pray and uh, just love each other, and say some nice words. And then I just went to town. And it was so cathartic. I just bawled. It felt like it released something that was maybe trapped, and that it was still super significant. Like I was letting go of a life that I envisioned, and of a relationship and of a marriage. Like letting go of that was still really significant, and to be able to release it that way, that really sits with me still.
That's really powerful. Yeah, I love that physical manifestation and just like you said, getting that energy. There's something about, yeah, there's something about that physical outlet. I think that does something different than just speaking or writing. It's like you
Mhm.
said, it's more of a full body experience to do something like that. And I think that's a good point too, that I mean, since I know your story well and you don't have to share anything about it, but like even when you know it's the right decision to get a divorce, it's still difficult to fully accept that this is over, that that this, and especially like grieving the life that you thought you were going to have, with a partner. So I think, yeah, I think it's really helpful. That can be, yeah, I just wonder, the people listening, I wonder if they're going to come up with their own version of that because I can just tell that that was meaningful and helpful for you and just gave you that release. So I love that. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And do you have any suggestions, I guess, along those lines? Do you have any suggestions, I guess, for how other people can create their own version of, the party that you had, either like celebrating that you got past all those very first milestones. It's like, oh, the first Thanksgiving without each other, the first Christmas that's different, the first birthdays that were apart, the first Valentine's Day, that first year. There's so many firsts that are just they hit you a little differently than they do after that first year. Getting through that first year is challenging. And so I love that you had that idea to like celebrate the first, or making it past all those firsts. And so I don't know, do you have any suggestions or just like ideas for anyone else who might want to do anything similar?
Um, yeah. Uh, for me, I really like it. Well, first of all, it was symbolizing, yeah, I did it, but like I did it. I can take care of myself. Like I can take care of my
Mm.
life, and the house is still standing. I still am, like my children are still thriving. Like, but that it was signaling something to me, and that was it. Like, what is it inside of you that needs to come out, and what doesn't, it can be exactly what somebody else has done, right? Like if you've got something you want to smash it, smash it. If you want to rip the dress, rip the dress. If you want to sell the ring. Like whatever those things that signal to you, I did it, and I am moving forward. Like I do, there is a life, and it's it's okay to, I mean, I think the grieving for me was the loss of the death of a marriage that had been a part of my life for so many years. And
Mhm.
that she deserved she deserved some attention and some thoughtfulness from me, of honoring that life and that marriage and all that she was to me. She being the marriage. um,
Mm.
and so if it's running the marathon, or who are you, and what signals that you are moving forward. I think that it is
Mhm.
personal, and you can just copy somebody else too. You don't have, it doesn't have to be overly creative or any of those things. If it's, yeah, I like the idea of writing the word on the rock and throwing it in the lake, then you should totally do that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think whatever makes you feel
Mhm.
like you're releasing something, that you're symbolizing the ending of your marriage and the starting of something new. And a lot of people, when you were talking, was reminded that a lot of women get tattoos. I mean, that's a pretty common thing a lot of women do because it is such a visual representation of that time of ending the marriage and starting your new life. So that can be something that's really powerful and obviously stays with you forever.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is why I don't have a tattoo because I'm so non like commitment phobic. Not really. I was married for a long time, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I just think whatever, floats somebody's boat, whatever is powerful or meaningful to them. And I mean, people are so creative. Like I'm thinking about people who write songs or people who paint or do art or sculptures or I mean, there's so many things you can do to show that outward representation of what we've been talking about of letting go of the past and
Yep.
moving forward. So
Yep.
I really, really appreciate you sharing your story and just how you had such a beautiful party and included your family and your friends. Is there anything else you want to say about the party or about just the whole idea of having a ritual or a ceremony? Or have we pretty much covered it?
I think we I think we've covered it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's the marker. It's one of the markers of the new life that I'm choosing to live and explore and see what are the possibilities. And I am grateful for the people who were willing to do that with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the last thing I want to ask you is just if there's anything you want to share. I don't talk a lot about my actual program that I have that I offer, but just to let everyone know, I do have a 3-month coaching program where I meet weekly with my clients and there are videos, teaching videos on certain, subjects and worksheets that we work through and all that. And so you went through that program and I'm wondering if there's anything you want to share just about what stood out to you, what was most helpful, just your overall, I guess, what you thought of it and how it was for you.
Well, I found you because I was listening to somebody else's podcast and you were on there and you were talking just about your own experience. And first of all, I did not even know that there was such a thing as a divorce coach. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the way that you talked about the experience and about your life now was inspiring to me. And so I really appreciate, there were lots of things I appreciated about the program. I liked the different topics each week. I felt like they grounded me in some like ways to let go and then to explore. Like one of the weeks, more than once, we did some kind of a visualization activity about my future self. I just like it was like different ways of like exploring the possibility of who I was becoming or who I wanted to become, or um, that was so inspiring and encouraging. I liked having, I mean, each week I got a video and a little worksheet and was able to come with that. And sometimes that's what we talked about, and sometimes it wasn't, depending upon
Mhm.
where I was at. But I liked that idea of different topics to kind of, some were like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And others felt like, oh, yeah, you definitely need to spend time on that. Um, One of the very first ones was like sitting with difficult emotions. And it was just a great reminder, an affirmation of like, oh, yeah, that's part of the process. So those were some of the things. And it really has opened me up to loving the life that I'm living and being present for where I'm at. Not that loving my life means that it's all sunshine and roses, um, that I can still love my life and who I'm becoming, even on those days where I feel real sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's been such a pleasure to coach you. Like it's I don't think people understand what a privilege it is to be a coach and walk alongside people in this journey that's it's so deep, it's so important. It's such a pivotal time in life. And so I'm always honored when someone chooses to work with me and allows me into their life and into their emotional space. And it's just, yeah, I just love it. So it's a win-win for both of us.
Well, thank you. I'm forever grateful.
Well, you are very welcome. All right. Well, I think we've said it all, and this has been so fun. I've loved our conversation, and I just appreciate your willingness to come on and share your personal story. And I know for sure that this has been helpful, and I cannot wait to hear. And if you've heard this and you want to share your own experience or something that sparked, if you have an idea, if you're going to do a ritual or a ceremony, I would love to hear about it. So feel free to message me and just have a great week. If you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of how to move forward after your divorce, I've created a free guide just for you. It's called the 5 Stages of Divorce Recovery, and it lays out the roadmap to help you heal, rebuild, and love your life after divorce. This guide is packed with insights and actionable steps that will take you from grieving to embracing your future with confidence. Click the link in this podcast description, and the free guide will be delivered straight to your inbox.